Before you type another giant prompt into ChatGPT and get the same flat answer, I want you to know 4 features that can really change the quality of your outputs pretty instantly. We're going to look at custom instructions, which is on your account settings on ChatGPT. We're going to look at memories, which is a persistent context, more or less, of what ChatGPT remembers about you. We are going to talk about projects, which is an organized workspaces for specific topics, and custom GPT, which are like your specialists, your employees. And if you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Elena, and here we explore how to use AI and automation as solopreneurs, online business owners, and creators who are building businesses that feel authentic and in line with our values. So if you're interested in that, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so the first feature, it's custom instructions. You need to go to your ChatGPT settings. So now we are in the personalization settings here, and there is a couple of important things to keep an eye on. First, we want the customization to be enabled here. I do not recommend to touch style and tone. I keep it at default. Then here is the most important part. So custom instructions is basically your opportunity to really explain what you want this assistant to know about you, right? Let's say you hire an assistant and you wanted to understand the business. You wanted to understand the offers that you have, what kind of target audience do you have, personal and business goals for this year. It could be pretty much anything. And also you want to guide it, like how to answer in a best way that is suitable to your needs, right? All of that you can customize in custom instructions. You have different areas where you can input different information. Here is behavior, style, tone preferences. Here you have occupation and more about you. For my personal example, I describe what I do. I'm an online entrepreneur. I have different income streams, my goals, my philosophy, explain that I have a YouTube channel, I have a membership, and things like that. And in custom instructions, it's really helping to outline how it responds. I want it to respond in a way that is helping me to surface my blind spot, right? I really wanted to adopt more critical thinking, potential challenges, and this is my personal preference. I wanted to adopt the creator economy mindset because I use it quite a lot for brainstorming, but this is just for me, like how I prefer it to answer. Sometimes I fine-tune it, but you need to create your own custom instructions. One tip that I can give you, if you just don't know where to start, I would just go open a ChatGPT and open a new chat. I would say, I want to set custom instructions to make sure I get the best personalized experience from using ChatGPT. Ask me 5 questions to help me draft the custom instructions that would be most relevant to me. It will ask you a couple of questions and you will answer those questions. Highly recommend using the dictation feature where you can answer with your voice and give it as much context as you need. It will transcribe it and then give you a good suggestion over what to put in your custom instruction. The second feature I want to talk about is called memory. Is also extremely important. Let's say you hired that assistant, right? You explain the custom instructions, who you are, what you do, and what your goals are. When you onboarded this assistant, now it starts learning. Now it starts from everyday's conversation that you have with it. It starts learning more and more about your business, your challenges, what you're working on, about what you need help with, what are you asking, and things like that. So it's like a sponge starts soaking in this information. And sometimes certain parts of this information end up in its memory. So it's something that it will always remember about you. And here where it becomes really, really powerful. So if you have this enabled, reference saved memories and reference chat history, you're basically giving it the power to save things that it thinks are important about you, about your business. And we want to make sure that those memories are relevant. I'm going to blur this because this feels very personal, but basically what you will see here under saved memories is a list of things that it saved about you. And what you really need to do on a regular basis is review it and then make sure if you want to delete it or not, right? So here you can save from which chat it has saved it, because it determined it to be as important information, and you can delete it. It's really important to clean up this memory on a regular basis, because sometimes it can remember the wrong thing. Let's say you asked something like for a friend, right? And it just remembered something, and then it uses that as context when it's giving you business advice. You need to come and clean it up. And another cool thing with memory, like how can you proactively use it, is, for example, you can say, I want to open a breathwork studio in Sweden. Save this to my memories. You can see right now it says updated saved memory. So now it's saved this as a core memory. Use if you got to a really good place with it, like in strategy conversation, that you've been getting into really deep discussions, and then something came up that you were like, oh my God, that is it, or you got some clarity for yourself. So just prompt it right there in the chat to ask it to add it to memory, and it will do that. I think it's a really important feature that I see probably like 80% of people that I interact with completely miss. And this is where it becomes interesting. Have you noticed that, sometimes when you watch someone running like a super basic prompt, for example, give me 10 ideas for a new YouTube video, you just write this in the chat without giving any more context, and it will give you top-notch results, because it's going to use the memory, the custom instructions, and what it knows about you. So this is leverage long-term. I really encourage you, if you haven't made the memory feature work for you, to do that. Up next is projects. Projects is another pretty underused feature. So projects is basically workspace. So I treat it as a workspace for a specific task. So I have one for my membership, for example. I have one for my YouTube channel. It could be any type of projects. If you're a coach and you're working with clients, for example, you can have one project per client. The cool thing with projects is that it gives you a possibility to customize how it should use the memory. Now we're enabled memory, you understand how it works. And here, let's say you have, like you're myself, you have different types of income streams or different type of projects. And sometimes you don't want the memory about them to spill into one another. So what we want to do here is choose either default or project only. So it can't be changed later. So this is something important to think about. So project only means that it creates its own memories within the project. Let's say we choose project only and we want to have a project for writing a newsletter. I write a weekly newsletter and sometimes I need help with structuring it. And then we create the project. So what you can do next in the project, you can do a couple of things. You can add instructions. Remember, we set the custom instructions on our account level for all our interactions. But for projects, sometimes, for example, in this way, like for this newsletter, I write it in a certain way. I wanted to give people value, both in terms of what has happened with AI, but also sharing my personal journey of how I built all those things. So what I would do here is describe how I wanted to approach. I would refine the style I wanted to write in and things like this. I will provide those instructions. Any type of instructions that I feel are relevant for this project, I will describe it here. Another important thing here is you can add files. I would add a couple of my previous newsletters, examples of other newsletters, something that I find inspiration in. If I want to monetize my newsletter, I would upload some sort of a monetization report from Substack. I can add specific context here. Think about this as this is an assistant that will help us to draft our newsletter. So what does this assistant needs to know? Like, what is good examples to have? What is good industry insights to have? You wanted to add here. What could be relevant to add is your audience insights, your ideal customer avatar, some research of your niche or topic, some competition research. It could be any intelligence that you find relevant. Feel free to add that into the files. What I would normally do, because all my newsletters, everything comes from my brain. So I start by just a very long voice note. And I will tell it, like, what did I learn this week? What tools did I find helpful and why? What prompts I found helpful? I start with a huge brain dump. And then I just say, can you help me shape it into the raw draft? And it will do that. And revisit my samples that I've been writing myself and additional resources. It will perform this task so much better. Okay, and then last but not least is GPTs. So what is a custom GPT? The way to think about custom GPT is it's an assistant that needs to perform a very specific task very often and needs to follow very structured instructions. The more my business evolves, the more I have tasks that keep coming and I want to minimize time doing. You need a paid account in order to create your GPTs. For example, I have a GPT that writes YouTube video descriptions. I hate writing YouTube video descriptions. You have to make it SEO optimized and things like this. So I would open this GPT and feed it the transcript of my YouTube video. And because I have set it up in a way that it knows what it's doing, it will give me this output very consistently in the same style, following the same instructions over and over again for every one of my videos. I've pre-trained this GPT on my previous videos on things I wanted to avoid and the format I wanted to come. So I very, very specifically am telling it what I want to do. And then all I need to do is drop my transcript here and it will come back with the description and the title suggestions, the hashtags, and the suggestions for keywords. So the difference between custom GPT and a project is that project is more of a like broader discussions, like so the outputs could differ and it's not really following like any rigid formula. It's more like, okay, here we have a lot of context and here we have a thing that I want to do and let's iterate our way to it. And then with custom GPTs is more like, okay, here's my input. In my case, it's YouTube video, for example, and it already knows what to do. So it's already pre-programmed to perform a certain task. I would say it's a little bit more advanced, but if you have a repetitive task, this is really worth it to set it up once. You can do it in two different ways. You can set it up here and give it descriptions, instructions, how it starts conversations, and upload knowledge files, which is really important. Or you can just come here to create and describe what is the task that you're sitting with. Like, for example, you hate writing social media captions. You can just say, I want to create a GPT that will write social media captions, Instagram captions in my tone of voice. Then you prompt it here and it will guide you basically what kind of instructions to create for this GPT. Let's say we want to create Instagram captions assistant. You can see that it already starts creating this GPT for you. What I found, in order to make GPTs really, really useful for your business that speaks in your voice, you have to do quite a lot of extra work here. But again, once you set it up for good. For example, it's already created some instructions based on our short conversations here, but it still doesn't know our tone of voice, right? So this is something we want to add into its knowledge base. So our brand voice, our tone of voice, examples of how we talk, the desired output, like how we want the captions to come. You can personalize this so much here. It takes some time to fine-tune it, but once you do it, you will save so much time on this specific action. Some of the examples that you can think about depending on your business, it could be, let's say you have a video or some long form like a newsletter and you want to turn it to a LinkedIn post, for example, because you want to be more consistent on LinkedIn. So you can pre-train this LinkedIn assistant to write in a way that is not thought leadershipy or this insane, like what my marriage taught me about B2B sale kind of cliche things that everyone hates and no one reads. But you can predefine your own LinkedIn voice. Then all you need to do, either drop your voice note of what are you thinking, what do you want to share about, but you just don't have time to sit down and draft this LinkedIn post because you can spend your time more valuable elsewhere. So you can just drop your thoughts, your voice notes here, and it will create a LinkedIn post for you in the way you want it to come up, in your tone of voice, in the way that you feel is like, that feels authentic, that you feel that you want to put out there. I really hope that this has been helpful and that you found at least one feature that you haven't tried yet. I really do hope that you go ahead and do it, because I can guarantee you will see immediate results when it comes to projects, memory, and custom instructions. When it comes to custom GPTs, I would say if you're just beginning, you can play around with it. It does require a little bit more work to get it really good. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.